Be me, 29, feminist author living in Brooklyn. Just published book called The Emotional Labor Revolution: How Women Are Done Carrying Men. Made bestseller list, doing podcast tours and speaking events. Book argues that men are parasites who drain women's energy. That modern women should stop settling for emotional children. My thesis: men add nothing to relationships except problems. Spent 3 years researching toxic masculinity and male inadequacy. Interviewed hundreds of women about their disappointing relationships. Every story confirmed my bias. Men are selfish, lazy, emotionally stunted. Women do all the work while men coast on bare minimum. My book tells women to stop accepting crumbs from mediocre males. Book tour takes me across country, packed auditoriums every night. Women cheering when I say, "You don't need a man to complete you." Standing ovations when I declare, "Mediocre men deserve loneliness." Selling thousands of copies to women ready to dump their boyfriends. Publishers want sequel about the great male obsolescence. One signing event in Chicago, woman approaches with tears in eyes. Says my book saved her from wasting more time on worthless boyfriend. She dumped him that morning after 4 years together. He begged and cried, but she held firm. Now she feels liberated and empowered. More stories like this pour in through social media. Women leaving long-term relationships after reading my book. Raising their standards to impossible heights. Refusing to settle for anything less than perfection. I feel like I'm leading a revolution of female empowerment. Publisher sets up interview with major magazine. Writer is male, mid-30s, seems nervous interviewing me. Keeps asking about my personal relationships. I smugly tell him I'm single by choice, that I refuse to lower my standards for available men. He asks quietly, "What about men who are genuinely trying?" I laugh. If they were genuinely trying, they'd be worthy. He goes silent, scribbles notes with shaking hands. Later find out he canceled his own wedding after our interview. Fiancé read my book, decided he wasn't good enough. Start noticing pattern at book signings. More and more single women showing up. Ages 25 to 40, educated, successful, completely alone. They love my message, but seem increasingly bitter. When I ask about dating, they roll eyes and complain. All men are trash. I'd rather die alone than settle. Men aren't worth the emotional labor anymore. These women have internalized my message completely, but they don't seem happy about their choices. One woman, 38, tells me she's been single 5 years. Dumped fiancé after reading feminist literature like mine. Now she has cats and wine, but admits to crying every night. Still insists she made the right choice. That being alone is better than being with an inadequate man. Another reader, 33, says she broke up with boyfriend of 2 years. He wasn't ambitious enough, didn't read feminist theory. Now she's on dating apps, swiping left on 99% of men. Has been on 0 dates in 18 months, but proudly declares she has high standards. Start researching for my sequel about male obsolescence. Planning to celebrate how women are choosing themselves over men. But statistics I find are unexpected. Marriage rates at historic lows, birth rates collapsing. Single women reporting highest rates of depression and anxiety. Dating app data shows women becoming incredibly selective. Average woman swipes right on only 4% of men. But those top 4% aren't interested in relationships. They're playing the field with multiple women. Creating system where nobody gets what they want. Interview dating coaches for research. They tell me about female clients with impossible standards. Want men who are 6 feet 5 inches, make $200,000, look like models. But also feminist, emotionally available domestic gods. These women die alone waiting for men who don't exist. One coach shows me client list, 200 single women, ages 28 to 45. All successful, attractive, accomplished professionals. All utterly alone because no man meets their requirements. Many reference books like mine as reasoning for standards. They'd rather have nothing than something beneath them. Start interviewing men for other side research. planning to expose their inadequacy and selfishness. But their stories don't match my expectations. Many describe years of trying to meet impossible standards, being rejected for height, income, social media presence. One guy, software engineer making $95,000, says women ghost him. Not because he's a bad person, but because he's not exciting enough. Shows me dating profile: thoughtful, kind, stable. 0 matches in 6 months despite being objectively decent. He's given up completely, focusing on hobbies and work. Another man, teacher who volunteers with disabled kids, says women lose interest when they learn his profession. Not prestigious enough despite being meaningful work. He's 32, never had a relationship longer than 2 months. Women always find someone better and move on. Meet divorced dad, 35, pays $2,000 monthly child support. Works 2 jobs to afford decent apartment for custody weekends. Women won't date him because he has baggage, even though he's devoted father and hardworking man. He's accepted he'll probably die alone. These men aren't the monsters I expected to find. They're just normal people who've been deemed inadequate by standards that my book helped create and popularize. Many specifically mention feminist literature as reason for rejection. Women citing my exact arguments for why they're unworthy start feeling uncomfortable about my research. These aren't evil patriarchs oppressing women. They're lonely humans who've been systematically rejected. Many have given up on dating entirely, living quiet lives of resignation and solitude. Interview therapist who works with single men. She says clients increasingly report total romantic hopelessness. They've internalized that they're fundamentally inadequate, that women are right to reject them. Many considering suicide rather than lifelong loneliness. She shows me journal entries from male clients. Maybe I should just accept I'm not good enough. Women deserve better than what I can offer. I'll just focus on work and die alone. These men have been broken by the standards I helped create. They're not angry, just defeated. Publisher wants progress report on sequel. I tell them I'm finding interesting angles, but privately struggling with what I'm discovering. My empowerment message seems to be making everyone miserable. Women alone and bitter, men hopeless and defeated. Attend feminist conference to present my research. Panel about the future without men. Audience of 500 single women cheering about male obsolescence. But I look around and see profound sadness in their eyes. They're celebrating loneliness like it's liberation. During Q&A, woman stands up crying. Says she's 42, followed feminist advice to reject inadequate men. Now she's childless, alone, watching friends with families. Asks if maybe standards were too high. Audience immediately shouts her down for internalized misogyny. Another woman, 36, says she dumped loving boyfriend because he didn't make enough money or have advanced degree. He begged her to reconsider, said he'd do anything. She held firm. Now he's married to someone else with kids. She's still single, wondering if she made mistake. After conference, sit in hotel bar processing what I heard. Bartender is friendly guy, maybe 30, asks about my day. I tell him about conference, expecting him to be impressed. Instead, he looks sad. Yeah, I gave up on dating last year. Says women's standards became impossible to meet. He shows me his dating app. 0 matches in 8 months. Says he makes decent money as bartender, but it's not enough. Women want CEOs and doctors, not service workers. He's accepted he'll probably never have family. Seems at peace with dying alone. Realize this normal, kind man represents millions of others. Good people who've been deemed unworthy of love because they don't meet arbitrary standards that books like mine convinced women to enforce. We've created caste system based on superficial metrics. Flight home, sit next to businessman reading relationship book. He's in his 40s, wedding ring tan line, but no ring. Book is about winning back your wife. He tells me his story without prompting. Wife left him after 15 years, 2 kids. Said she deserved more and settled too young. He worked 60-hour weeks to provide comfortable life. But she wanted passion, excitement, constant romance. Now he sees kids every other weekend, lives in studio apartment. He's not bitter, just confused. Says he thought being good husband and father was enough. But apparently women need men to be everything. Providers, entertainers, therapists, best friends, romance novels. Standards became impossible for normal human to meet. Start seeing pattern everywhere I look. Coffee shop barista, 28, tells me he's given up on dating. Says women his age want men with graduate degrees and six figures. He's happy with simple life, but that's not impressive enough. Rather stay single than face constant rejection. Uber driver, 31, divorced after wife found better option. She left for man with bigger house and fancier job. He's still paying alimony while living with roommates. Says modern women see men as upgradable commodities. Plans to focus on his kids and forget about romance. Gym trainer, 26, incredibly fit and attractive. But only 5 feet 7 inches, so women dismiss him immediately. Has great personality, stable career, treats women well. But height requirement eliminates him from consideration. He stopped approaching women entirely. Begin questioning everything I wrote in my book. Did I help create impossible standards? Are women rejecting perfectly good partners? Is settling sometimes just accepting reality? Maybe not every relationship needs to be Disney movie. Reread my book with fresh eyes. It's basically manual for becoming impossible to please. Every chapter raises standards higher, tells women they deserve perfection, that anything less is betraying themselves. Check sales figures. 500K copies sold. That's potentially 500K women with unrealistic expectations. Greater than 500K relationships ended because partners weren't perfect. Greater than 500K men told they're inadequate human beings. What have I done? Social media mentions poor and daily. Women thanking me for permission to dump boyfriends. Stories of ended engagements and broken families. But also increasing complaints about loneliness. The revolution I started is making everyone miserable. Interview women who bought my book 2 years ago. Many are still single, increasingly desperate. Standards haven't dropped, but reality is setting in. They're aging out of their preferred dating pool, but too proud to admit they might have been wrong. One reader, now 35, says she rejected 12 potential partners. Each one failed to meet some requirement for my book. Now she's watching younger women date the men she rejected. Those men are married with kids while she's alone, but still insists she made right choices. Another, 31, broke up with fiancé because he wasn't feminist enough. He didn't read enough theory, didn't discuss patriarchy daily. Now she realizes she prioritized politics over love. He's married to a woman who accepts him as he is. She attends their social media posts and cries. Start researching what makes relationships actually work. Long-term couples cite acceptance, patience, compromise, not the perfectionist standards I advocated for. Successful marriages involve two imperfect people choosing each other. My book taught women to choose nobody. Interview relationship researchers and marriage counselors. They confirm my book is causing real damage. Women entering therapy with impossible expectations, refusing to accept normal human flaws in partners, creating generation of permanently single perfectionists. One therapist shows me intake forms. Increasing number of women, 30 plus, never married. All cite high standards as reason for singleness. When asked to lower standards, they refuse. Would rather die alone than settle for reality. Marriage counselor says she's seeing opposite problem too. Men so beaten down by rejection, they've stopped trying. They've internalized they're inadequate. Even when women show interest, they assume it's pity. Both sides trapped by standards nobody can meet. Realize I need to write follow-up book, admitting I was wrong, that I helped break dating culture. That reasonable compromise isn't betrayal. That good enough is often actually good enough. That dying alone isn't victory over patriarchy. Publisher rejects my new book proposal immediately. Says admitting error would destroy my brand. Market research shows women want validation, not reality. They'll pay for permission to have impossible standards, but not for advice to lower them. Decide to write it anyway, even without publisher support. New book, The Settling Revolution: How I Learned Love Requires Compromise. Argue that perfect partners don't exist, that rejecting good people for minor flaws leads to loneliness, that standards should be reasonable, not impossible. Feminist community completely turns on me. Called traitor, internalized misogynist, pick-me author. Speaking events canceled, podcast interviews pulled. Old allies block me on social media. But I can't promote loneliness anymore. Self-published new book despite industry blacklisting. Sales are modest, but reviews are powerful. Women sharing stories of finding love after lowering standards. Men expressing gratitude for acknowledgement of their humanity. Couples reuniting after reading about compromise. One review breaks my heart and heals it simultaneously. Woman says she recontacted ex from 3 years ago. They had broken up because he wasn't ambitious enough. Now they're engaged, building simple but happy life. She realizes love matters more than impressive resume. Another reader, tracked down guy, she ghosted for being 5 feet 8 inches. Turns out he's an incredible person, just vertically challenged. They've been dating 6 months. She's never been happier. Says she almost missed soulmate over 2 inches. My old book would have supported that decision. Start speaking at events about realistic expectations. Smaller crowds, but more genuine engagement. Women admitting they're lonely, asking for permission to compromise. Men sharing stories of being rejected for unchangeable traits. Everyone seems hungry for message of acceptance. Meet couple who credits both my books with their relationship. Woman initially dumped man after reading first book. He wasn't successful or exciting enough. Year later, read my second book and realized mistake. Now, they're married with baby on the way. She says, "Your first book taught me I deserved everything. Your second book taught me what I actually needed. I needed partner, not perfect stranger from romance novel." He adds, "I'm grateful you came to your senses. Almost gave up on love entirely. Realize this is what redemption looks like. Not just admitting error, but working to fix damage. Every couple that reunites, every standard that becomes reasonable, every person who chooses love over loneliness, slowly undoing harm of impossible expectations." New book won't make bestseller lists, won't get major publisher or speaking tours, but it might save relationships and prevent suicides. Might help people find happiness instead of perfect misery. That matters more than literary fame. Looking back, understand how I got it wrong. Confused empowerment with isolation. Thought high standards meant impossible standards. Believed rejecting everyone was strength. Actually just taught people to be alone. If you're single because nobody meets your standards. Maybe standards are the problem, not the people. Maybe good enough is actually good enough. Maybe love requires accepting flaws. Maybe dying alone isn't victory. Modern dating is broken because we broke it, with impossible expectations and zero compromise. Men giving up because they can't win. Women alone because nobody's perfect enough. Everyone choosing loneliness over reality. But it's not too late to fix this. Lower your standards to reasonable levels. See partners as humans, not projects. Accept that love requires settling sometimes. That settling for real person beats waiting for fantasy. Because at the end of life, nobody wishes they died alone. Nobody celebrates rejecting all the imperfect people who might have loved them despite their flaws. We all just want connection, acceptance, belonging. And sometimes that means choosing good over perfect.